All right, before we get started with this episode of Jocks and Jills, we want to tell you about our partner, Shark Ninja, and the Ninja Crispy, the 4-in-1 portable glass air fryer cooking system. Whether you're whipping up quick single-serve meals in 7 minutes, sharing crispy snacks on the go, or serving a crowd, the Ninja Crispy makes it easy. Everyone's special bonus edition of Jocks and Jills. Let's do a little Woman's World preview, shall we? We teased that we were going to have special guests on this podcast. Does it get more special than Cheryl Pouncer and Kenzie Lalonde? I don't think so. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome.
Hey, you guys.
Are you guys in the midst of like packing, getting ready to go to Europe for a couple weeks? I kind of miss those days, guys. I'm going to have major FOMO this year. I won't lie.
Yeah, I've been parked on this chair for hours and days, and you're looking at what my life's been like the last little bit getting ready for it. Yeah.
I'm the same. I'm just trying to figure out what kind of cube I have to take over there to adapt things to.
Remember we were all battling? Pounds,
Yeah.
I think I did
Didn't
your hair
you
the
bring
last
your
day.
Dyson, Julia?
Yeah, I brought my
Denmark?
Dyson Airwrap and I used it. I had the right adapter for it.
Oh, you
I think
did?
I did
Okay.
Cheryl's hair for the gold medal
See,
game, didn't I?
I know, like, so this is the question I have. What in the hell am I going to do
No,
when I don't
Julia,
have
no,
you to do my
Tessa.
hair?
We're
I mean,
on
Arden-
headsets.
Arden can do. We're on headset, so
Yeah, you got Art
this.
Aislinn. Britt Dord has some amazing
Oh,
hair. Like you have to
well,
talk to her.
Oh,
It like there's not a hair out of place on her, and I
She'll
walk in
fix you up.
there and put my headset on, and every time I go, man, I got to do something with myself every single time.
the best though, director Dawn keeps us honest. She'll say, fix the hair. Like, I feel like I am part makeup
the
artist
beauty of
for
a female
Cheryl at
director, eh?
times, part
There's
hairstylist
nothing
for
worse.
Pounder.
Do you want to know the worst thing that ever happened to me? I was doing a hit, like a talk back with CTV News one time when I was on the early sports center, and the entire hit. And I had like 3 minutes leading up to it where I was talking to the director, whatever, shooting the breeze, do the whole hit. And I go to leave. He's like, hey, great job. By the way, you have something in your teeth. I'm like, you told me this at the end?
That's
I've been
such a
talking
sewer.
to you. I swear to God. I was like, if that was a woman, she would have been like, pick your right tooth.
Immediately.
That's broccoli in there.
Like Jen or Dawn. Jen will be like, oh, I see a little bit of
Carrie
straighten your
Bulow.
necklace out. Yeah, it's the best.
We help
You
each
need
other
that.
out. We help
I
each
know, right
other
before we
out.
go on air, I just tuck Pounder's hair back and we're like, okay, we're good.
Yeah, she tucks my
Teamwork.
hair, and then I hand her my lip gloss.
when
That's
does
teamwork
the
makes
old
the
fist
dream work.
bumpy, when does the fist bump dance come in?
Like right before we're on air.
Yeah.
Like you get the count and Pounder's like, let's go.
And it's funny
Nice.
because when you're working with a new producer, they're kind of panicking because here you are like
yeah.
laughing all giddy, and you're like, "Woo," and then all of a sudden, and
Yeah.
they're like they're thinking these two are whack. They're not in control. They're not ready to
being a-
talk hockey. And then all of a sudden we're just but if you
Dialed
don't
in.
know us, that you have no idea why we're shimmying, shaking there. So anyways,
good.
yeah,
It's the best.
fun.
It's what brings the energy to the broadcast. Remember last time Women's Worlds were in Europe? We were in Denmark together. That was the wine trip. I feel like, oh, you're wearing the sweater.
Ooh.
Last year in Utica was definitely like the Miller Lite trip, eh?
Yes.
Like every night in that lobby bar in downtown
Yeah.
Utica.
In a bottle.
I know
from a
Tessa
bottle.
got me on bottled beer.
It was
Which
the
I love
vibe of
now.
where we were. I don't really
Can I tell
drink
you
that
why?
much beer. It's
No,
because
less
where we were.
hangover,
in the
less
vibe.
hangover with bottled beer.
Because I met somebody who cleaned lines for a living, like beer tap
don't
lines.
say it.
and
I'm
he-
taking my
he
headset
said,
off because I want to continue to drink my draft.
Don't. He said,
La, la,
people
la,
say
la,
they
la,
flush
la,
their
la, la,
lines and
la,
they
la.
clean it, and they don't. And when he comes in to
Yeah.
clean it, it is like, that is what's making you not feel good. Is that.
Okay,
Do not
all
drink
right.
draft beer.
Okay.
So
Wow.
beer,
Okay.
bottled beer, baby, all day. That's
Beer
me.
bottles. Bottles
We'll
all,
be in heaven.
Women's Worlds long.
That's
Yeah.
we're
Cheska
going,
Budiovica, Homa Budweiser, Homa Hockey, Homa Budweiser. We'll be.
Can you
It's
please-
the ticket to freedom, baby.
Are you guys
Can
going
you
to see
please
the
say
horses?
that town again? Because I
Cheska
am not
Budiovica?
saying it the same way you are. So just say it one more time. for me.
I was actually scared to say it the whole time that we've been recording. I haven't wanted to say where they are.
I've talked to the host committee. I've talked to organizers. I've talked to my good Czech friend, Zed České Budiovice.
Okay, one more time.
České Budiovické.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
good
České
job.
Budiovické.
Yeah,
It
it sounds like it has a little jiggle
home of
to it.
Budweiser. It's where
Home
Budweiser originated.
Yeah, like are the Clydesdales
Budweiser.
there? Are you guys gonna get to pet the Budweiser
Pound?
ponies?
I hope so.
Thoroughbreds,
Not
probably.
pound the Budweiser ponies. Don't do that. That would be good, probably. Okay, we're gonna go around Group A and Group B and kind of take a look at how each team is lining up ahead of this tournament and kind of expectations and who to watch on each team at the Women's World Championships. I guess it's easiest for us to start with Canada USA, and we'll start with last year's champions, Canada. Weird news leading up to this tournament for this team, with Hannah Miller being named for the team and then being ineligible. I don't know, Cheryl, Kenzie, I don't know if you guys have anything on that. Tessa and I have talked about it ad nauseum on the podcast.
I learned something new, actually. Poundy, you're probably going to say it, that they absolutely are not allowing switchbacks. So you made your choice to leave one nation and go play for another. That is your choice. And it doesn't matter that China is not allowing her to play anymore. You made a decision. Now you have to live with it, which is tough. But it's a lesson learned. Unfortunately, Miller's learning the hard way, but it's a lesson for everyone else now.
Yeah, and then
You make your pick and you live with it.
And there's, I mean, again, I don't know whether Canada will look at trying to get that overturned or not, but there is also her pro contract with Kunlun, right? When May 31st, 2023 was the end date, I believe. So that would also eliminate, especially from this particular World Championship. I think the question remains, will she be able to play in the future, as Tessa alluded to? And I think that happens in soccer. I was talking to someone as well. It's a soccer rule. Once you make the one transfer, the transfer back is what can happen. So will be interesting moving forward, but really tough for her, especially just what she's done in the PWHL. And I love the fact that in this best on best league, they've actually taken stock and used this as an evaluation tool, because there's no question she deserved to make it if she was eligible.
I do find it crazy too that Jessie Eldridge is in the top scoring and isn't really getting a sniff.
Mm-hmm.
But let's not talk about the players that aren't there. Let's focus on the ones that will be there and will be trying to make a difference. So the way Julia and I kind of wanted to do this was your expectation for the team and a couple players to watch who you've got your eye on or expect to be, a player that, Kenzie, you'll be calling their name a lot. So we'll start with Canada, like Julia said. So what are your expectations for Team Canada heading into this one?
I haven't been this excited to see a Team Canada group come together like this in a long time. And I think a lot of that is because of some of these newer faces to the international scene. There's a good mix up here. And so I'm interested to see some of the line chemistries we've seen in the PWHL, like Gardner Poulet, Nurse, Malte Spooner. We've seen a little bit Watts working in on that line too. Will we see those line combinations come over to the national team? Like Pounder was just kind of saying, the PWHL is certainly an evaluation tool, but will it go to that next level? Well, we'll see just coaches sticking with that line chemistry. So I think that's something I'm going to be watching for. And of course, goaltending. That's up in the air this year for the first time in years. So my gut saying I'd have to think Kristen Campbell will get that first start. She will likely get that prelim game unless something happens. I do think Eve Gascon deserves to get, whether it's the game against Switzerland or another matchup, she certainly deserves to get time. But you look at Kristen Campbell, 4 world championships and never played a game. I really hope to see her get the start and get that prelim game. And if whatever happens. But maybe Eve Gascon will get some more meaningful games down the stretch. But I'm excited to see how that rotation will work for Canada. And Primerano, guys, I think it'll be an easy transition to this national stage. The little glimpse we've seen on Rivalry Series, she's fit in so well. Playing alongside someone like Jocelyn Larocque, I think really helps that. It's a great group, but also these rosters are bigger, right? They're 25, so there will be some healthy scratches. So who will those scratches be? And will it be a revolving door? I from my understanding with the research and people I've spoken with, it can be a revolving door. You can bring in an athlete even if you want to. It doesn't have to be due to injury. You're not designated alternates. You are allowed to use that full 25-player roster from what I know right now. So we'll see if it becomes a revolving door, or will they stick with their go-to lineup as the tournament goes on?
Yeah, and we can dive into, if you guys want to, we can dive into some of the players a little more closely, but I'm right there. I want to see the alignment. I'm interested to see, is Daryl Watts a top 6? Is Gardner actually going to align with Poutland? Because she didn't in the Rivalry Series, right? So they brought her in, but then she wasn't playing on that flank alongside of her. The 2C for me is very interesting. Are they going to put Villiers in the middle? And so without Hannah Miller, that also raises questions with Sarah Nurse. Does Sarah Nurse, elevate into that role? So I'm kind of interested to see that landscape of it. And for me, if you're looking at someone like Chloe Primerano, who's going to naturally be a part of this Olympic team in a year, I think she needs to stay in this lineup. So they need to give her the games, not one game in, one game out. So that would leave you the question, does Sophie Jakes get in? And so all of these different elements that I'm kind of looking at in terms of what they're doing with these players, how they're fitting them in, and then for us sort of analyzing that as we go. But no question, they've got a great team, but that depth to it, those extra pieces, as Kenzie said, really does play a big part in this roster construction and who's actually going to play in these games, even specialty teams. Is Renata going to quarterback power play one? Will it be Ambrose? Or are they going to let Chloe Primerano, even though she's young, this seems to be her gift on the offensive blue line. So are they going to give her an opportunity at some point to see it in that role? So again, all of those fun little tidbits that I'm kind of looking for as well, and sort of talking points as we go and as the roster sort of changes as they find their sort of configuration.
2 questions for you. The first, Jamie Lee Rattray is not there. I feel like there is going to be a moment, because we all know how impatient I think Troy is with finding that dual partner for Pooh. If there's a moment, or even a line that's not going, he used to just pluck Rattray, throw Rattray on that line. All of a sudden that line was going. Do you think there's going to be a moment in this tournament where he looks down the bench and he's like, shit, where's my utility? Where is that player? I need that player. Or who do you think has filled that role or can fill that role?
Yeah,
Kenzie?
it's a really good question. I mean, I think we know the Clark, Stacey, Turnbull line is a trio that they will always run with. They know they have that in their holster. We've seen the break here as of late in the most recent rivalry series, Stacey going up playing with Poulin. So that's another example of, I think, with you stick with what you know, maybe as a coaching staff. So going back all the way up top to Poulin's line, maybe a player like Stacey is now that second layer of, okay, we need to find some chemistry, stick her back up there now. But it's true. It's crazy to think. I mean, you go back to the 2023 shootout against the United States in the preliminary game, and it was Jamie Lee Rattray that scored that shootout winner that clinched that prelim game in Brampton for Canada. So of course she gives some energizer minutes to Lions, but also, I think there are a lot of fans watching her go to the line, maybe thinking like, Rattray, are we like, okay. And she goes down and scores like she always does. When the game's on the line and when the team needs her, she always steps up. And that's sometimes a quality not all athletes have.
And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think it was Calgary. She led the charge in the comeback in the final. Like there's so many different
she was scoring
elements.
critical goals.
Yep.
Right? Of scoring those critical goals.
She started that game
when
as a
she was
14
with
averaging.
like 1/3 of the minutes of a Jenner,
I think
of
the
a
most,
Poulin.
and again, I don't have my notes in front of me here, guys, but I know from various world championships, I can see it in the small print in my notes, like something like 8 minutes and something seconds. 9 minutes and something seconds time on ice as an average.
I think it was a 4-minute block where she turned it around.
Right. And so I almost felt, and I was always, I'd like to see her in a more stable role on this team, but I almost felt like she was better when she was inserted. So sometimes those players, with the extra players and having them too, it would certainly be that security blanket, having a player like her, knowing that you could throw her up there in a pinch and be able to make change. But I also think that we could see a lot of shuffling in the top 6. I think when you look at someone like Fillier, who's she going to play with? Is it going to be a Watts? They also, could Fillier and Poulin, if you wanted to put Fillier on the flank, as you've seen with Carpenter over the course of the PWHL with them, because when Fillier is on the flank, a lot of the time she enters the offensive zone with the puck, right? Because she's on the wing, she's slashing across. So I think there's a piece where her on the flank is extremely strong, but are they strong enough down the middle where they can do that? And so that's kind of where
even.
I'm looking. But in
Imagine
Serdachny,
the 1-2 punch.
And so there's a lot of question mark for me around that, top 6 and who's actually going to align with who, and which is a big piece where I think Gardner should get an opportunity, especially early, to see if that chemistry can translate on the international stage, because it's hard to play, as with the top players in the world. And they've been looking for it for quite some time. You know, if you go back, it's been like a revolving door. It's been cyclical up and down the lineup of trying players to get that fit. But what is the right one? So I do hope that they give her a real opportunity there. And that can allow, you know, the other lines to sort of bolster and settle in. But as we know, short-term tournament, things get changed very quickly.
Yeah. And then my last question, this is a yes or no question. I think Primerano truly should be paired with Zandy Hart. Just a steady Eddie, very calm, low key, stay at home D, totally easygoing. And then just don't even put a saddle on Primerano. Just let her run. But do you think Renata Fast and Jocelyn Larocque will be united?
No.
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 Interesting.
With Thompson back in the fold, you have Shelton now, Ambrose. Where were they?
Yep. Thompson
I don't think so. I think
no.
that's over.
I think,
really?
I do think
unless you know, they're in a pinch and it's kind of go back to what you know, it could be an in-game adjustment. But I think, guys, I think that era's over.
Yeah, it does feel like a little bit of a changing of the guard in a subtle way with
and whether
Primerano
the writing on the wall was that official trade, you know, that maybe was more of a solidify for all of us to see, oh, maybe it's over. But
I think about I'd be, you know, so hurt if I wasn't playing with Becky Keller anymore. It just got shoveled off me. But I think for Renata, like her game has sort of changed a little bit too. So I think they're putting her in a different role. They want more offense clearly from someone like Renata. But I'm bang on with you about Primerano in terms of I think they've got to give her the reins to go and utilize her strengths to the maximum capacity. But she needs to be with someone, and I said this about Larocque as well, if she's going to play with Larocque has to stay back. Like, in my opinion—
That's not Larocque's game anymore.
It's not her game anymore, though. And so, but when I look at it, I say to myself, and I saw this a couple times at the rivalry series early with Chloe Primerano, was, you know, she was the first one back for the puck in the defensive end because her partner was up. And I was like, no, like, it's got to be the other way around for her to settle her in, because the defensive side, you know, that's not her game. Her game is activating weak side, getting hit, jumping into the rush, the blue line. So I'm with you that, you know, whoever she does play with, I think there needs to be sort of this, leadership role, stay at home, be safe. I know no one likes that word, but, you know, that safe play to allow her to play a little unsafe, and which is more where I think she will thrive. So, you know, again, I think that will be tweaked a little bit as we go, but I do hope that she stays in the lineup for a good portion so that they can actually get your foothold, you know, get your foothold on the game.
I feel like the four of us could sit here and talk about Team Canada and Team USA for about an hour. So I will move us along to Team USA.
Sorry.
I can move us along to Team USA. So many interesting things to talk about Canada, honestly, this year. There hasn't been a whole bunch of movement in the past, like 4 or 5 years. So to have a little bit of a shuffle this year is exciting. And we're obviously all excited to talk about it. How do we feel about the USA this year? We were really, really high on the USA last year, obviously, with the contingent of really impressive young NCAA stars they have in that team. A lot of NCAA champs coming off the win at Wisconsin. And of course, Tessa's Ohio State Buckeyes, a few of them on the team as well. Headed over to Czechia right now. How do we feel about them? I remember post-game when Canada won last year, Poulin coming up to you and I, Tessa, and being like, so did you think we were going to win? And like, we were like, I don't know. You never know who's going to win between Canada and the USA, but definitely did feel like USA had the edge speed-wise. I don't want to say skill-wise because there's so many great players on Canada that are highly skilled, but you know what I mean? They just felt a little fresher last season going into it.
Mm-hmm. I think for me, Lee Steckline coming back is massive.
That's big for me.
That's huge. And you know, so that's a storyline I'll be following. Will she be paired alongside Layla Edwards, who's going to explore this defensive role, it seems, with this team? That's a very interesting storyline for me to follow. But I think fundamentally here, what we've seen from the United States for the last few years, they have no problem scoring goals and finishing, right? I think that's been a strength of their game here as of late, is always finding a way to score the critical goals and the big goals. And I just can't wait to see Kristen Sims back on at the national level, coming off of what an incredible. Oh, who wants it?
Whatever.
Oh my
God. I'll never be over that. I honestly,
Sorry,
if I didn't host
Tess.
this podcast with Tessa, I would have bought the shirt with her, what that says, who wants it. I would have bought that.
You know what,
I
Kenzie,
was
we
on
should
the
have
page
actually
and I
worn
was
it.
going to
We
purchase
should
it.
have
And
worn.
then I
We
was like,
should
I
have
can't do
purchased
this
some
to
more
Tessa.
just for Tess. We should have just done that and worn
Thanks,
it
guys.
for
I
Tess.
appreciate that.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see where like who she'll play with. You know, no Hannah Bilka this year. I think she rounded out that line with Janicki and Murphy was that line. So will it still be Curl, Heisey, Sims? I don't know. But they just have a lot of goal. Like they've led the tournament in scoring the last 3 tournaments. It's been such a strength of their game. So
And I think
I'm excited to see how Steckline will alter this blue line.
Yeah, and I'm
Clearly
big
they feel that they need a stay-at-home defender. That's clearly an area it looks like they've been looking to address here.
And leadership as well. I think Lee walks into a room and everybody's turning, sitting down and listening and watching. And not that Hillary Knight doesn't command that presence, but it's nice to have, someone by Hill's side that also commands that presence, because Hillary shouldn't have to do it every game. I'm sure she does, but I think Lee really holds a ton of respect in that locker room. And I think that she's, got her head on straight. She doesn't talk too much, but when she does, everyone shuts up and listens. So I think that's huge for them too.
And I think there's a lot of youth the youth college, right? And I think that Lee and I think them wanting her to come back is an indication they have that offensive capability. But even their D, you look at Carolyn Harvey and how magnificent she is, but she's always going forward, right? So when they do get in trouble, when Canada's heavy on a forecheck or their opponent, sometimes, they get into trouble in their structure. And I think, they're on offense a lot, with their college teams. So I think that Lee provides that stabilizing factor to be able to turn, and you can throw her with, Harvey, and much like Primorette, let her do her thing, and but I'm going to be here to also teach and mentor a little bit from the other side of the puck. So I think that's big. I always do. Also, you've got the skill level that they have. And I always, and will forever say, I think Carpenter is just such a big game player. And someone who's, just down the middle, strong in the dot, just someone who's a glue piece. But the one I'm going to be really looking out for is going to be Murphy. I think that you're going to see her in and around Poulin all the time. I think we'll be doing split screens of those two chirping. We've seen it in the past. Murphy obviously is either on the line or off the line. It's there's no one else like her in the game from that aspect. The skill and the grit, but again, I think she'll try. I don't even know if she has to try. It's just the way she is. But when she's on the ice, I think that she has the ability to get under skin. So I'm interested in that sort of storyline around what she brings to the table. And I just find it's such a different element, which keeps our eyes on her a lot,
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, she's not only throwing hits and getting under skin, she's scoring goals too.
That's exactly it.
I mean, and talking about getting under skin, I mean, just ask Caroline Harvey. What do you guys think about that beef
Do
heading
you
into
think
this
they've
world?
cleared the air?
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you brought that up, Tessa. I haven't heard anything about that. And I was creeping them on Instagram. They were friends before that game.
Yeah,
I said this to Tessa. I was like,
know.
yeah, Carolyn's mom follows Abby's sister, so they must know one another. Tessa's like, get a life, Julia. You actually need help. You're creeping that hard. But
If
yeah,
I'm
they
a
must
coach,
have had
though,
a conversation about that.
A conversation, nah. If I'm a coach, you guys are rooming together for a pre-tournament.
I like
Squash
that
it. And if it's
strategy,
squash,
Tess.
cool. Have fun together again.
Yeah, you put your
let the
national
rest of the team
jersey
know.
on. You're putting your national team jersey on.
That was the first thing I thought about, though.
Oh my gosh, that whole game.
As soon as that hit was laid, I thought, you're teammates in a few weeks. All right.
Yeah, went both ways too. That was intense. Any commentary on goaltending for this one? Gwyneth Phillips is...
Because we just saw Phillips and Franco go head to head. Franco got yanked.
Yeah, I'm interested. I think Franco will remain their starter, but will Phillips get a game? I think deservingly so.
Yeah, I think I think when you look at sort of the landscape of goalies and No Hensley and Rooney from a while back, I think there's been this turn there too. And I think that they know that who their starter is right now. I think even for Canada, I think, the idea would be that Campbell would have that net, but it's not, there's still Ev Gascon there. I mean, if ARD can't go, I think they might give her a game, and it could be questionable. No one has experience, but when you look at someone like Erin Frankel, I think that, she's going to be given every opportunity to have that net. But again, I would like to see Phillips get some time.
I always find with the United States, they're very cutthroat with their goalies. Like when they're done with them, they're like, okay, goodbye now. New player in. Whereas Canada's like, you're a starter. We're going to let someone else try this game and they'll get the start. And then all of a sudden, the known starter or the number one goalie is the backup. And everyone's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's
But the
happened.
interesting
Like
part
it's very
in Canada-
Canadian way.
Yeah.
Except for the third goaltender. Like that third goaltender in Canada never gets a sniff.
Yeah.
No.
Ever. Right?
No,
Like you look
but
at.
I'm just talking about how
Yeah.
teams move on from goalies.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
the
yeah.
Americans are just like throw them out, next one in. Whereas like and they
Mhm.
never get a sniff again. They are gone.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like Matty Rooney's never gotten a sniff again. Like what's going to happen with Hensley? I have no idea, but I'm going to assume that they're like, thank you for your time. We'll see you later. Whereas Canada's always like, just sit on the bench for a bit. We're going to see. It feels like more polite. So it'll be interesting to see. Like you said, because it's not often I feel like that the backup goalie for the Americans even gets a sniff. Like it's very rare.
Hensley played one game last tournament.
Right.
Mhm. It's to me, I sense a Frankel just, having talked to Robo, when we're out and about. But again, like you got to make the saves when it's, when the time is right. Otherwise, that your prelim game, what happens and then how that moves forward. So it'll be interesting once we get there to sort of watch how they practice, even though in the women's game, that doesn't always mean this, that who's the starter or not. But I do think that she'll be the front runner to go the distance. But again, you can't deny what Phillips has done. And with McNaughton coming in, I think, it'll be, I think it'll probably be the two that kind of get the sniffs, but we'll see.
Yeah. The timing could not have been fun if you're Robo last night watching that Ottawa
No.
Boston game. Like, that's not great timing for him. Do we want to do predictions? Like, how do we feel, guys? Canada, USA, it's so hard. You're splitting a hair. I won't force us to do predictions if it doesn't feel appropriate.
It's your split.
I have no idea.
It's honestly, it comes down to like your final game. It's usually a big save, right? Like it's a big save one way. Specialty teams are always interesting to me in these short-term tournaments. Because it depends on how the officials are going to call the international game.
Yeah, it's
which
something
I'm
interested to
really,
see.
really interested in to see, if we're playing shorthanded, if we're specialty teams are all over the map here. Because I think that's something that in the future might need to be looked at. But again, it's up in the air for me. Obviously, Canada, is coming off last year's win, so it's theirs to lose. But again, I think that the games are always so close that it's
crazy how polarizing the Canada USA games were last year.
Oh.
The preliminary 0-0 to then just the OT winner from Sims, and then you have a 6-5 gold medal game, which also went to overtime. But two very exciting games, and one was high scoring and one wasn't. So I can't even imagine what's in store this year.
What have you said? And again, there's been so many great games that we've been a part of. But would you say that Utica final might have been the 100%. Best by far? Like
what were the storylines going into that? Poulet hasn't really scored yet. Carpenter's Coin Schofield having a great tournament. Knight pretty quiet. Boom, Ambrose scores the first goal for Canada. Okay, sure. And then Pooh scores. Oh, Knight's in the game. Oh, hello, Layla Edwards. Julia
Pooh takes
Gosling.
that penalty
I
and
see
she's
you,
standing
Edwards.
in the bench
Let me
like a
raise you
demon.
Goal. Yeah. Like the storylines just kept changing. It was like, oh, the stars are here. Oh, okay, Layla Edwards. Oh, hello, Julia Gosling. And then it's Sir Dacny with the OT winner. Like, the storylines just kept shifting. And I think what we saw in that game was that next layer of talent for both countries really pushed that high scoring third period, which I think is
Hence, do you remember after
here.
One of the goals, and the fans weren't throwing T-shirts this time, thank goodness, because for those who were like wouldn't know, we'd be in the booth, and I guess they decided to throw T-shirts. Normally the T-shirts get thrown in a break. Well, they'd be throwing them in the game and not wait for the break. So we'd be like, what, like trying to follow the play?
Fans are like,
hands are like.
And we're like, wait.
We had to actually
you guys were right in the crowd in that booth too.
We actually had to ask, say, we don't want to burst anyone's bubble here, but is there any way they can wait till the break to be like the t-shirts are getting shot everywhere?
T-shirt Grinches.
Yeah.
Please spread
But
that rumor about Kenzie and Cheryl.
At one point though, did I not? We had this little, because we were doing a lot of games, a little snack area. God love Aislinn and Arden in our booth. And I was like so excited. I grabbed like a clementine and whipped it. Outside of I was like, someone's bored. And I'm like,
don't worry. She threw it at Mike Marshall and DB. She threw it at our coworkers.
It hit our coworkers. And I was like, just because it was just so entertaining. And it was just so back and forth.
We were sweating. Like I remember after each period, it's like, look at my sweat stain. No, look at your sweat stain.
I had you beat, girl.
Yeah, it was that intense. We're looking forward, hopefully, for another rematch.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to another sweaty pit final for Kenzie and Cheryl this year. You need it. Okay, let's start moving through the rest of these teams. Yeah. Finland, last year's bronze medal champs. They're going to be without Jenny Hirikoski for the first time since 2003. Huge. What does that even look like? I don't know.
I wonder what that means just in the room, leadership-wise. I look straight to Nelly Leitinen as someone who will probably be playing huge minutes, carrying a lot on the back end. But I think they're back, right? I think you look at that Canada-USA prelim game, you circle it on your calendar, and now you start to circle the Czechia game on your calendar when those two play each other. So I'm interested to see what they look like. I think Holopainen is back scoring a little bit more. Vivi Vainikka, that a little bit there. And I guess I'm also interested to see what like Nora Toulouse looks like back with her national team. I didn't get a chance to see any of those Euro Hockey Tour games when they were back with their group. So, I'm interested to see how this blue line is going to look for Finland now with Hirikoski on.
It'll be interesting.
And I have to think Sandy Ahola will be their starter again. I think Kaisla kind of lost that job here. So I would think she'll be their go-to again.
And Kierkegaard
I
think for Nora Toulouse, it'll be interesting to see because I think the game against Montreal, she only played about 4 minutes?
Yeah.
If that. So, not that she's not training every day, she is, but it's a lot of game time missed when she's going to go on a team now where I think she's going to get a lot more minutes. So is the game time conditioning there? Susanna Tapani's not going to miss a step. Like I'm excited. Is she going to throw this team on her back? Honestly, is she?
Yeah.
I feel like that's the way she's playing.
I think she did that last year. I think Karvinen back in the fold's big for them. And Nieminen.
Savalainen looks so good lately.
Yeah.
Yes.
So is their, clutch goal scorer. So that trio, I expect them to be aligned again together.
It's interesting. When you look at their group, Tapani is, going to be Tapani and in the dot and in the way that she skates and can carry the team. And as you said, Tess, like just the puck touches she's gotten this year in the time playing best on best, you think that it can only help, right? And then you look at Savalainen on the back, whether, if she's going to be net front on the power play. Those are all things that we'll see once we get there. But the Toulouse, Holopainen, Vainikka, to me, are the outliers. Like they're your secondary. And with the minutes, much like Czechia, you go look at Lashkova, you go look at some of these players who have not played, they've been healthy scratches or playing minimal minutes. I'm really interested to see what that looks like once they get over there. Are they now aligned with their group so they're more confident, but they haven't had the same puck touches. So I am really interested. Like that's a real piece that I'm looking at in particular with those two countries. Because those players, like in particular Toulouse, that she has to be strong for Finland. Like that's one of the things. And she's always around the net, not necessarily a natural goal scorer, but she certainly makes plays that lead to high danger chances. And she's just not getting the time right now. So I'm really interested to see that secondary and what that looks like outside of the Tapani line. Because that's really got to be their difference maker, right?
Yeah. I lied. Toulouse had 5.5 minutes. I just looked.
Yeah.
5.5.
But still though. But she's their number 1C or at least 2C on that national team.
That's what I mean, right? So she's got to, and again, whether it's a confidence and a carrying or whether, she's playing, it's the best on best league. So they've been playing great competition, but the time on ice and the puck touches, it affects confidence. It's all of it. So I'm really interested to see. what that looks like. And without Hirakoski, they are going to rely on Leitinen more. I'm really interested to see whether her game now, she grabs it, a little bit differently. Because obviously, that's a critical piece to their back end and in the minutes that Hirakoski plays, right? Not just from a standpoint of, but now all of a sudden, what do you do with those 30 minutes a game? Like that's
she was a horse in that bronze medal game last year. What did she play?
Totally.
Over 30 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like it was insane.
Yeah. And truly, I don't think it's a bad thing. Like Julia, we talked about this in our last episode, but like Poundy, remember when the difference between running 5D and 7D? Like when you're running 5D, you're in it. So I feel like now their defenders will be in it more. Like they're going to be out there more often. They'll be in the game a little bit more often. They won't be out of sync because Hirakoski will play a 5-minute shift. Like, and all of them are going to get running and they'll be able to create their chemistry and kind of find their game together. And I'm not saying that having Hirakoski was a burden, not by any means, because I would take that girl on my team all day, every day. But I think this is going to give a new look defense for Finland where all of them are engaged. And look, it's a lot of responsibility and a lot more minutes against, they're all going to be playing against playing a lot more against some of the best and better players on other teams, right? So there comes a major responsibility and a maturity in your game when you do that. So the growth on the back end with Team Finland is definitely going to happen this tournament for sure.
And it's also good for them a year outside of the Olympics to see what under more stress for some of their other D, how they do hold up. One of the things I noticed with Hirakoski's game and the increase of minutes and just the craziness, of course, because she's one of the best in the world. But what I started to notice, and I don't know about you guys, but what I always felt that Hirakoski plays her best when she's connected to the play. What I've noticed in the last 2 years, and don't get me wrong, she's still outstanding, is a lot of her play is mated stretch from below the goal line in her own zone. And I found that lessened her impact on the game because she was so far away from the play after she made that pass that she wasn't connected on offense, which meant the puck started to come back. So I'm interested to see if there's a little bit of a change there because she was playing so many minutes and all those kind of things. So I'm just kind of interested to see the connectedness if it changes a little bit. That's just one of my weird little isms with her. Like I found like she just was further away from the play because, making the outlet pass, but a lot of the time it was a stretch. So I'm interested to see how that all ramps up.
Yeah. Okay, that leads us nicely to Czechia. Last year, they were knocked out of that bronze medal spot that they like so much the previous 2 years by Finland. They've got 9 PWHL players on their roster. What do you guys see in store for this Czech team this year?
I am so excited for them. Just your first world championship here in the top division, you get a host. The ticket sales look like they're going well. So I think just from a personal
I haven't actually heard.
standpoint,
Can you set the scene for us? I haven't heard much about the preparations, the excitement actually in Czechia.
Yeah, I'm trying to think as
they
of
have their own
late.
broadcast team, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The ticket sales are going good. I know if you have a ticket, it gets you free transportation, to go from if you are in Prague, I guess, if you want, to České Budějovice, and the rink's great. It's just a good hockey city. I think from a team collective point of view, I'm going back to the point we kind of just talked about with players that are playing minimal minutes with their PWHL team. Yeah. Well, that goes for goaltending. Klara Peslarova hasn't really played, right? So I think she played 40 minutes this season, so has spent all season in a practice setting. She played a few meaningful games with the Euro Hockey Tournament, but that storyline is the same for Germany with Sandra Abschreiter. She hasn't played at all this season. So you have these other nations, goaltenders now in the PWHL, which is wonderful, but not playing meaningful minutes. So how will that impact their play within the tournament? So I still have to think Peslarova will be their goaltender. Svejdova looks great too. I think she could probably get a few games on her belt, but Peslarova was that driving go-to goaltender last tournament. I'm excited for them. I think the health of Katerina Mrazova,
that's big.
I don't have an update at this time. She's announced to the team, kind of like Anne-Renee Desbiens as well. So that's good news. She missed last tournament, and there is another good finisher, strong goal scorer that this team could use. Kaltenkova will get her first debut at the international tournament, the senior over at Colgate. So I'm interested to see how she fits in. She looks like a true goal scorer. Lankova is coming off a strong tournament as well. So some of these key NCAA players that dominated within their programs here this season will probably be will be relied upon heavily for Carla McLeod. But they had beaten in the Euro Hockey Tournament. I think they beat all 3 games they played Finland, and they smoked them like 7-2 in that final February leg of the tournament. So I'll be circling that game on our calendar here when they play the Finns, because that'll be their biggest measuring stick.
Yeah, I mean, and they've got some young players that have come in through the U18 team, Shapovalov. I mean, again, in there, but like, just as you said, Ken, Teresa, she said, the GM of the team has talked about that process to development and the NCAA route being a strong factor for them. And of course, PWHL again, and I know I talked about the Finns like that. This is my biggest thing with Peslarova. Goaltending is incredibly important, especially when you're on that fringe. You're there, but you need that goaltending. And so for me, that's critical. So I think we'll be able to identify whether she's on point or not based right away. With defense, Teralova. But again, Lashkova to me is a big question mark too, coming out of Montreal. She's been injured, but she's been healthy scratch. So, there's a lot of question marks around this, but there'll be a possession-oriented team under Carla. They'll look for their points of attack. They'll, all those kind of areas. But I do think there's nice synergy between their U18 team and the senior team, which allows for them and their, all their different systems and structures to work. And of course, Carla having some of them in Ottawa also helps, the familiarity, getting them day in, day out. So
I just think the home crowd, this tournament will take them an extra step here. Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, good point.
Guys, when they at the U18s, when they made it to the final,
that's amazing.
A couple of years ago, they were like the numbers were off the charts. Like we got the numbers back from like Czech TV or somewhere. Like
they broke a record for streaming numbers, and they got a shout out from their president.
U18,
unreal.
And so that really just that. And then now you're going there, right? And so I think that this is where they want to be. So that right away, I would think should bolster them. And again, question mark will always be depth, right? But on a given day, this is a team that can do some damage, especially if Mrazova is healthy.
Yeah.
Have
you seen the medals? They're beautiful. They're Czech crystals. Oh, they're the same as the men's worlds. Like it's a very similar style of medal, but I want one. They're beautiful.
Yes, that's awesome. It should be great for Czechia to be on home ice. Like to your point, guys, I'm so excited for them. There's going to be some great visuals, I feel like.
And Benishova told us that it was like 10 minutes from her hometown.
Yeah.
Which is also, I say 10 minutes too, not far.
Strakonice. I was going to say it, but I thought I had it right.
45.
So,
nice.
Yeah, so she's basically playing at home.
Yeah. Okay. Exciting time for the Czech team.
Maybe she can give us the beer tour.
I'm sure she can.
Claire Hanna, the amazing and wonderful Claire Hanna, sent me a recommendation of like a beer spa in Prague, and you go like an ice bath, but it's beer.
Is it cold or is it just beer?
Are you immersed in it?
Yes.
Yeah. You like would sit in a tub like you would an ice bath, but you sit in a tub of beer.
What are the benefits?
I don't know, but I'm going to do it.
There's got to be something honky in there.
You got to do it. Take the picture, send it to us.
I will.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're getting a photo.
Okay, good.
We'll do that on our off day, Pounds. We'll go soak in a tub of beer.
Yeah. That's what we usually do on our off days, isn't it?
Yeah. Let's get to Switzerland and Alina Mueller and all of the anger that
she's so pissed off heading to Worlds.
She was so fired up.
Awesome.
I love it.
It's great for Switzerland. What do you guys think for the Swiss team this year?
Yeah, they're always there, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is always exciting.
I haven't looked at Lars Solder's numbers at all this year. Let's check them.
Ruretti and Segrist are back in the fold, which is nice.
It's
we're building a board on Mueller and Stalder's goal scoring production over the last 3 tournaments in comparison to the team collectively. So we're working through that right now, and just
did we both just look at Stalder's numbers for this season?
how important it is for
How
them
ridiculous.
to
I
be
haven't looked at them
scoring.
yet. They're ridiculous, right?
Yeah, 50 points in 22 games played.
What?
Yeah.
Mm.
She's
Yeah.
having a
Come
good
on.
time playing
She's
in
having a good
Switzerland.
time, enjoying herself. And I think
What I love about Mueller and Stalder, and also with Vanisheva, is the like chip on their
the
shoulder.
grit. Yes.
Like they are angry hockey players, and I like that in a hockey player. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to skate down the ice and probably set up or score a goal or two, but like also like don't come at me. Like you're not doing that to me. And it's great. I love it. And I think that kind of builds the confidence in their team, because Patty, when we played, or even when these girls play now, you know, we would talk to even Team Japan or whoever was going to be playing to Canada. Like, it's just so intimidating. Like, they're Team Canada. It's like, yeah, but you're on the same ice, like level playing field. Like, whack them in the back of the knee. You know what I mean? Like that.
Oh yeah.
So I hope with those ladies doing that, it's kind of like leading the way to show the rest of the younger or more timid players, like, this is how you have to play if we're going to be a force here. So I love that they have like that driving aspect to their game for their team. And like you said, Poundy, the grittiness factor.
Yeah.
They got
and
great
we saw it
goaltending,
last
too.
year. Yeah. We saw it last year in
Yeah.
Utica, right? When you're watching and you're like, she can take a penalty. You can just see Stalder, like she's coming down the ice, right? Or you know the moment when she's mad. You know,
Yeah.
You remember that interview I did with her in Utica or in Brampton when she like ripped the refs? It was epic. She's like, we're playing against the other team and we're playing against the refs.
Refs.
When
I
they were
love
playing
when she
Canada?
gets pissed off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think she got kicked out.
Or was it
maybe
Canada?
the game before?
Anyways.
I don't
One of
know.
the things
I love angry Stalder though.
And they default to one another all the time. Sometimes they can shoot more individually. I think sometimes they default to one, and like,
Good point.
obviously
Right.
and I think sometimes, especially in Group A, it's difficult to score goals. It's tough group. So when you get that look, I think that sometimes they default to one another, and I understand why. But you know, if that puck is on Mueller's stick, she's often looking for Stalder. She's a natural distributor, but I think sometimes I'm like, take the shot, take it, right? Because you don't get, they don't have the depth, right, to not take those chances. So I think a lot of their success depends on their power, like their specialty teams, if they can get on it, but also that line in particular, they have to be opportunistic, which I think can be challenging for them at times. You know, it can be frustrating. You see that frustration sometimes, but overall, I think that, you know, you've got to key in on them. There's no question. But
they're right there. They've been to the bronze medal game how many times?
Yeah.
And they just can't seem to finish it. So I feel for them. I think there's been years of frustration there.
Yeah. We'll see what happens this year.
Sure.
I mentioned Brantley there because she announced she's not going back to SDHL Moto next season. So maybe keep an eye on her. She declared for the PWHL draft. Okay, let's move to Group B now. I know you guys aren't calling Group B, so you haven't done like a million notes on these, and we took like a full hour on Group A, so hopefully we can move through Group B.
and we didn't even.
I love my Group B.
We touched on it. We just like
I know. We're just
raised it.
scraping the surface, but we'll save everybody's Spotify listens. Germany qualified for the Olympics in a heartbreaker over Hungary. I know they've got an exciting prospect as well, Kenzie, in Nina Job-Smith. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Nina Job-Smith. I don't know if they go hard on the J locally in Canada or in North America.
Yeah.
Hard on the J.
They go hard on this J. And they've got a really strong NCAA contingent on this Germany team as well. So I feel like they're coming in pretty confident.
Well, they went undefeated last year for the first time in prelims, right? If you're in Group B with the current format of the way the IHF top division works, your goal is to finish first in your group, because then you miss out. You don't have to play Canada or the United States. So if you can finish first in your group, you'll get that third over in Group A. So they played Czechia, right? And it went all the way to the final seconds, and Pejeva scored that goal. It was 0-0 for the whole game. Like, they almost punched their ticket to a semifinal game. So that was huge for them. I think them in Sweden will be so fun to watch going head to head here. So the rise of Germany, I think, is important and so fun. Job Smith's a big piece to that, and Abstreiter as well. But going back to that point of she hasn't played much meaningful hockey here as of late, I wonder how that will work for her. But this is a really exciting team. So I'm interested to see how how they can build off of their success from last year. But the goal always has to be finishing first in that Group B so that you don't have to play Canada or the United States.
In past years too, they've been plagued with injuries at the wrong time. Like they've had some significant injuries at the wrong time, like so which has hurt them, because I think it was, God, it must have been 3 or 4 years ago. We were like, okay, they're coming. We can feel their rise, and they played a physical game. I felt like they were closing on their opponent really fast, and then they had some firepower, and then there were some injuries, and so they basically took a bit of a back seat. But I think the big piece here is what Kenzie is saying, and you'll know if you talk to some of the coaches, and it's really, 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 really difficult to get out of that group, right? And all of them want to, because then they want to have the opportunity to play against, the best, and see what that's like to take them to the next level. But if you think about it, if a Germany who finishes 1 played a 5 in Group A, what would happen? So what they're saying is like, yeah, put us up against Switzerland, or put us up against, but that doesn't happen. So it is really, really difficult to get out.
But this is the last year of the format, so it doesn't really matter anymore.
No, it doesn't. It's the
forward.
last year of the format. But that pool in particular, there's always like the games are a grind. Like that pool B there's a ton of parity, right? So there's good games, right?
Yeah.
Really good
Okay.
games.
That leads us perfectly to Hungary, honestly. Speaking of the parity and how close the games are, I mentioned that Germany qualified for the Olympics. Hungary has never qualified for the Olympics before, but they were this close in a game that was against Germany. I don't know if you guys saw the finish for this one. It was 2-1, right down to the wire. Hungary actually scored to tie it 2-2.
And then,
it was like just a second left, right?
I thought that there was enough time, but they reviewed it and there wasn't enough time. Germany ends up winning the game. So my thought for Hungary is they come in kind of pissed off with a chip on their shoulder, in my opinion, especially when they see this German team.
Yeah, they're also such a good story. I mean, they beat Finland in Denmark. Last time it was in Europe.
Yeah.
Like you can't count them out. So I'm interested to see how that can translate this tournament.
Me too.
Well, and that's where I feel like in some they've got the Group B teams have gotten a tiny bit closer to the bottom teams in the A.
Yep.
So, and that's a really, really good thing, but you don't always get to see that because they're in Group B. But yeah, when you think about how close that window is and the dying seconds, like it's just, I think we called their first win at the World Championship, didn't we, Ken?
Yeah.
When they got to hear their national anthem, and it was just, it was something. And then I think
in 2021, with Lisa Haley,
I think so. Yeah, wasn't it? Yeah. And they mesh together a little bit, guys, when you've got when you do 30 games year by year. But but I just remember it being such a powerful moment and thinking, okay, for the athletes that were there, a reason why, when Carla was coaching at the Olympics in 2014, she took her team to the medal ceremony, get a feel for this, for this. And so some of those players who were there, it's a belief. It's kind of the belief that, Czechia has the skill to back it up. But it's a belief, hey, we're right there, and so it takes that switch in order to get there, and you're starting to see it.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to Japan now. Interesting kind of roller coaster ride for them over the past few seasons. Last year, they have a really tough time in the group stage, but they're able to avoid relegation with a win over Denmark. They have qualified for the Olympics. What do you think we see out of Smile Japan this season? Better year than last year? I love Smile Japan. Me and you, Kenzie, actually love Japan. The bows before the game. I love Japan.
Yeah, the bows, yes. What was I just thinking? Oh, we were talking about earlier players that have played in the PWHL bringing that.
Yeah.
What do they look like now within their national program? Akane Shiga, after her first year in the PWHL, I find just was significantly faster, stronger on her stick, shot the puck way more when she was on the international stage last year in Utica, noticeably faster and better. So she'll continue to lead the way. They have a 15-year-old this year. She was just off the U18. So I'm interested to see if she'll be in the lineup. Will she be a scratch? But that's a very young. We know Japan goes young anyways. But 15. is very young, and she scored a few goals, I think, at the U18s with you guys, Cheryl. So yeah, I'm interested to see. They've had a lot of like, you think of how they got here, a lot of turnover. The longtime goaltender Nana Fujimoto, their captain, a lot of the players that built their program to what it's at are now have grown out and retired. So it's this next layer of youth that are trying to keep them here. But we see them at the U18 level. They get relegated. They're in and out at that stage. But here they've been consistent showing. And you go back to the Beijing Olympics, they finished first in Group B. So it really is that you have to keep your eye on this pool because it can make or break what will happen the following year.
I find in this pool, goaltending is the make or break. If your goalie's hot, you're good because you're going to get a bounce at some point.
And I mean, there's, with depth, we can talk all about that, and their D play a ton of minutes. Shiga plays a ton of minutes. The captain of the U18 team plays with my daughter, Kika, and I've spoken to her numerous times. And she's taller, she's strong, she's physical, and I think she'll have a shot in the future because of that. And I'm going to go there. I think they're very, their pass execution is very strong. They're connected, so their outlets are really good. They can be opportunistic when they get their chances. Their goaltending, I think, has been up and down, which can hurt you because if you get behind the 8 ball by a few goals, then how many goals you're going to score. The thing for me that I think Japan, and we saw it when they were in Group A, is they're not big. And so although they move well, and I think their agility is really good. And when you watch them from a structure and a posture perspective, they're extremely disciplined in that. But they take penalties because the moment there's a shot, they have difficulty boxing out because they're not a big team. So they don't have the stick leverage to push out. Like, do you know what I mean? So they have to rely on their feet versus their body, which they do have. But the moment the shot comes, I think sometimes they do get into trouble because it's very difficult for them to box out, push out stronger, bigger bodies. And so, denying entry, those things have to be, they don't want to get into a cycle game, those kind of ideas, where I think, down the road, if they can get, like I said, one of the athletes I talked to, she's 5'7", she's strong as an ox, which is another reason why I could see her pushing into the senior program. So, but that would be something that I always look for because I love their execution with their passing. I'm always saying, man, they just, those passes, the way they exit and like they're together and wow, they're always in front of their player and F3's high. But then when they get in trouble, it's like it's on the shot, the point shot, or the walk-off wall shot. And now they're scrambling to find the puck, but it's the strength of stick to me that gets them, pushes them back sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. Norway's an interesting story. It's the first time they're back in the top division since 1997.
There's only one girl on that team that was alive. Andrea Dahlin. She's 32. She's the only one who was born in 1997.
I'm very excited for this team. It'll be really cool to see.
Were you born in?
98. I know. I said this team predates me.
Oh my God, you weren't alive.
I wasn't alive. I was not alive.
You can all do? Is this an X-rated pod? Because I'm about to whip out some fingers and tell y'all you're not in menopause, so screw off. Sorry, I didn't say that, did I?
You're not menopause.
I'm not either. I'm not.
That's such a good quote.
I'm not in menopause. I'm just saying it.
I feel like we started the podcast by talking about your menopause and sweating.
I'm not on it. I just get hot flashes. I just sweat.
Just a little hot flash here and there.
Just a little warm. Okay, you mentioned though, Tess, how important goaltending is in Group B. And Norway, coming into this tournament for the first time since 1997, they went undefeated at the D1A Worlds to earn this promotion. And a lot of it on the back of really good goaltending, right?
I'm excited. I think they can really make a run here. I'm interested too with them, Hungary, and Japan. I'm just between those games, they may be low scoring, but it always, like Tessa was just saying, it always comes down to goaltending. And I think they have a leg up there in that department when we look at the strength of what their team brings.
And
I put my expectation for them was 1 win.
Yeah. Okay. Who do they beat?
Either Japan or Norway is who I was looking at. Japan or
Hungary.
Hungary. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
We all go hungry and you
They're gonna beat
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
like you want a snack
Yeah.
or something
And-
like that.
But I remember Hungary, like Lisa Haley kind of saying that back all the way in 2021. Our goal is to get a win. Like we don't want to just be here. We don't want to just enjoy this. We want to win.
Yeah.
So
And
I'd
you don't
have
want to get
think-
relegated.
And you don't want to
Yeah,
get
I mean
relegated.
it's tough. 2 teams get
true.
relegated. So
I
it's
know,
kinda-
right? But that, I mean,
But
that
yeah,
every
yeah,
team
yeah.
in that pool, like obviously Germany's like, my goal is to come out one. Like, but I think that the bigger picture of it all is in order for growth to happen, you need to stay there. And so it's, no one wants to talk about like, oh, the goal is not get relegated. But at the end of the day, those wins are going to get you to the point where you're not going to get relegated. And so those head-to-head games are critical because of that. And I think that's a big piece because when, not just winning the world championship, it's the D1A, it's also like, we're moving up. Like we're moving up. Like, and so now you want to stay there. And so I think that's a big, big piece of it.
What do you guys think about Sweden? What's your expectation for them this year?
I have a good feeling about Sweden, people.
Okay.
Well, we loved
I don't
Sweden
know.
last year and all those young players.
Yeah.
They've got that strong NCAA contingent. They've got a great goalie. Like, I really like where Sweden's at right now. Sucks about not in person.
I know.
I was just
I
going to
know.
say,
News?
that's a big loss. She quarterbacks their power play. They draw a lot of penalties. They also take some too. But, they're Youngblom, Svensson, get those girls back together.
Youngakar.
Youngakar.
Go Bucks.
Yeah. So I'm very excited to see them and see what they look like as a collective unit.
So for me, I'm interested because I think they're very inconsistent. So
that's the youth.
So for sure.
That's being young.
And what Ken's and I had the fortunate opportunity to call the U18. So we saw when they made the final against Canada a few years ago. And so, when that happened, you're like, all right, this is amazing because not only have they beaten the United States now, right? Like they've got that. And this new wave has done it, right? Now this new wave is playing alongside at Ohio State, right? So now they're there, they're in it. And those numbers are increasing with PWHL. And so now you've got this bolstered lineup, but they've got, they played, this is going to sound, I don't want to sound wrong, but when we used to play against some of the, not a US, let's say, the teams that we played against outside of Finland and US, and I should include Sweden early in the career, but they played to survive, right? I don't want to get beaten by XYZ. This is a group that trusts their skill. Like they hold on to the puck to make a play with it, right? Even if they're going to turn it over, they've been, I think it's been entrenched upon them at a young age, especially the ones at the U18s, and speaking to their coach there, that they need, it's one thing to go get it. Now, in order to translate that into, we have to possess it. We have to try and make plays. And so now you have a player like Svensson that, she's excellent.
Wicked shot,
right? And you've got the back end, that's got mobility and that, will bait anyone to open a lane.
Mm-hmm.
And so now all of a sudden you're seeing that. So now it's just putting it all together at the right time. And they can,
I think if they can punch their ticket, if they could finish first in Group B and whoever they play third in Group A, I'm interested to see what's going to happen.
And goaltending.
There.
They've got a good goal. Like they've got great goal. Like they've got goaltending. They've got D. They've got an offensive punch up front. So you're looking at, they have depth, right? And when I say depth, I'm not talking into a fourth line. I'm talking sort of in that sort of 6 to middle 6. But they've got it. And so, I'm excited to watch them play. And we're doing one of their games. So
awesome. Guys, thank you so much for this. We have officially toured the entire Women's World Championship. We've touched on every team. And you know what? For as much of yappers as all 4 of us are, we actually made it like a reasonable time. It's not like short by any means, but that's pretty reasonable for the 4 of us sitting together.
The top 10 teams, guys, I'm proud.
Well, you should do a pod with us having a pint in our
Pounders Pints is still a segment that we need. Pounders Pints should just be a podcast.
Our spa, just be up to here in beer with holding a beer and just.
Can you do a hit with us from there? Like FaceTime us, podcast
Welcome back.
From the beer spa,
please. Please.
I have the name of the spa. We will be booking
It's
a
happening.
beer
Can't wait.
bath.
I
Beer
can't wait to
bath
see.
for 2, please.
I wonder if it's warm beer.
I don't know.
I wonder if it's warm beer.
I don't know.
don't
I can't
know.
picture it being. I don't know what I want to know what the benefit is. I'm super curious. Unless they
Oh.
have it
We'll
like ice
research
cold or something. So it is a cold plunge.
I'm not
Anyways,
doing no cold tub. That ain't happening. Didn't do it when I played. Not doing it. Not
You're a
doing when I'm
baby.
working.
you got to stay consistent though. I appreciate that. If you didn't even do it as a player, like why would
I
you
hated
start
it,
late in
man.
life?
I
now?
hated it. No,
Yeah.
no.
I love a good
Guys,
ice
thank you so
bath.
much for the time. Enjoy the trip
I'm-
to Czechia. I'm gonna miss you
Guys,
guys.
it's our first worlds
I know.
Without
I
each
know.
other.
We're gonna do
separated.
this. We're gonna shed a tear on the
Songs.
podcast.
Oh.
Now we're all
okay.
just quiet and sad. It's gonna be a great tournament. We are really excited to listen to your call-all tournament. You guys have to get packing though, so pack your underwear. We
packing.
have to get you on your way.
I gotta
We're
shower
really excited to hear you
real
guys
bad.
from Czechia. Cool tournament.
Don't forget your pit stick.
Lots of them.
Bring your pit stick and bring your straightener pounds. Have fun in Czechia.
I'm gonna bring some hairspray. Mat it down.
And you guys listening to the podcast, thank you so much. Enjoy the World Championships as well. Tessa and I will not be dropping a podcast on Friday, but we will be back at your regularly scheduled Jocks and Jills programming next Tuesday and Friday. We'll talk to you then.